I was the last to arrive at the lawyer's office. The elevator creaked on the way up, its silence only broken by the shuffling of papers in my purse, bills I meant to pay this week, a grocery list for Grandma's favorite soup, and a photo of the two of us on her porch last Thanksgiving. I still remember the way her hand curled around mine that day, a little weaker than usual, but still warm and steady. "When I'm gone," she'd whispered, "you'll know what to do."
I didn't understand then.
But I thought she meant the house. Her things. The memories. I never imagined she meant the war that would follow. The room was quiet when I walked in. Cool, clinical, and airless. Like death still lingered. My cousin Amanda sat at the far end of the oak conference table, arms crossed, chin lifted like she was at a board meeting instead of a will reading. Her red lipstick looked too bright for a day like this. Her eyes flicked toward me once, and away just as quickly. The lawyer, Mr. Bennett, gave me a tight nod but didn't rise. He shuffled some papers and cleared his throat. "We're here for the reading of the last will and testament of Margaret Louise Clark," he began, voice dry as parchment. "Revised and notarized March 12th. My breath caught. March 12th? That was 2 weeks before Grandma passed. But I'd been with her every day that month. She hadn't seen Amanda in almost 4. Mr. Bennett continued, reading through the formalities, and then the words started to blur. "To my beloved granddaughter, Amanda Clark, I leave my home and property at 349 West Fairview Lane, along with the contents therein. I trust she will care for it with love and respect." I blinked hard, leaning forward in my chair.
What?
"And to my granddaughter, Emily Clark." Mr. Bennett paused. I braced myself. "I leave a small sum of $500, in hopes she will use it to find peace." My entire body went cold. I didn't speak. I didn't cry. I didn't move. I just sat there, silent, while Amanda adjusted her hair and smiled like someone who had just won something she didn't earn. I had spent the last 4 years caring for our grandmother full-time. Every doctor's appointment. Every night, she forgot where the bathroom was. Every Sunday morning church trip when her knees swelled from arthritis. I bathed her, fed her, fought with her insurance. I missed dates, job interviews, and vacations for her. She was my heart.
Amanda?
She posted filtered photos of brunch. The lawyer kept reading, but it was all white noise now. She told me she was proud of me. I whispered, not realizing I'd spoken aloud. Amanda turned to me then. She probably was. Just not proud enough to leave you the house. The room didn't flinch, but my soul cracked. I wasn't just betrayed. I was erased. I waited until the meeting ended before I stood. Mr. Bennett offered a quiet sorry, as if that would mend what had been broken. Outside the office building, the sky was cloudless and sharp, the kind of blue that made you squint. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably another "thinking of you" text from someone who hadn't called in months. I didn't check it. I walked until my heels blistered, and my mind went numb. How could she have changed the will? How could Amanda have convinced Grandma to do that? Did Grandma even know what she was signing? And then the ugliest question of all, was it possible she meant it? The house had been our sacred place. I grew up on its hardwood floors, chasing dust motes in the afternoon light. I kissed my first crush under the porch swing. I grieved my mother's death in that kitchen. I fell apart and stitched myself back together in those walls. And now it was gone. Given away to a girl who hadn't even shown up to Grandma's funeral on time. I went home to my one-bedroom apartment, where the heater whined louder than my thoughts. I sat on the edge of the bed, still in my black dress, and stared at the photo I'd carried all day. Me and Grandma. Our faces pressed close, hers lined with stories and mine still so hopeful. I ran my thumb over the curve of her cheek in the picture and whispered, "Why?" There was no answer. Just the faint sound of traffic outside and the hollow ache of a love that felt conditional after all. That night, I didn't sleep. I searched every legal term I could think of. Contesting a will. Coercion of elderly person. Fraudulent inheritance. But the lawyers I called the next morning were blunt. "It's nearly impossible to overturn a signed, notarized will," one said. Unless you have proof of mental incapacity or undue influence, and even then, it's an uphill battle. I had memories. I had love. I didn't have proof. Amanda had one. She had taken the house. The legacy. The place where I had kept Grandma alive for years. And all I had was a $500 check, and the shame of being invisible in a life I'd poured everything into. I told no one. I didn't want pity or platitudes. What I wanted, I didn't even know, until a few weeks later when I saw Amanda's Instagram post. New beginnings, she wrote, posing in front of Grandma's porch, holding a glass of champagne. The caption had 78 likes. In the corner of the frame, I could still see the faded wooden swing. She hadn't even removed it. She was living in my memories, wearing my life like a coat she hadn't earned. That's when the shift happened. Not rage. Not revenge. Resolve. I wouldn't fight her. I would change her life. Quietly. Permanently. The same way she changed mine. I wasn't supposed to stay. When I first moved in with Grandma Margaret, it was supposed to be temporary. Just until she recovered from her hip surgery. Just until she could move around again, cook, bathe, get to her appointments. But months turned into years, and somewhere between her forgetting what day it was and needing help with her medications, I became her full-time caregiver. There was no applause. No grand decision. Just one day, I realized I hadn't had a night out in 6 months, and that I knew her prescription list better than my own phone number. I was 29 when I moved in. By 32, I was still there, single, sleep-deprived, and emotionally exhausted. But I never resented it. Not once. Because when my mom died, Grandma was the one who took me in. My father had disappeared into another state and another marriage within months. Amanda's parents offered empty condolences, but never once asked if I needed anything. It was Grandma who packed up my mother's house, held my hand through the funeral, and set up a room for me with my favorite blue quilt and a tiny bookshelf she filled with my mom's novels. She was my lifeline, my anchor, the one person who made sure I always had a place. So when she needed me, how could I say no? I gave up my apartment in Chicago, left my marketing job, sold my car, and moved back to the sleepy Virginia town I swore I'd never return to. Everyone said, "You're a saint," but no one ever helped. Not even Amanda. Amanda had always been the golden one. Perfect hair, perfect smile, cheerleader, honor roll. She dated college athletes and was the kind of girl whose Instagram feed looked like a curated lifestyle blog even before filters existed. She visited Grandma twice a year, Thanksgiving and Easter. She always brought flowers and took selfies next to the fireplace. But she never stayed longer than 2 hours. "I've got a flight," she'd say. Or, "I've got work in the morning." I remember one Christmas, Grandma waited all day for Amanda to show. She kept checking the window like a dog waiting for its owner. Dinner went cold. Her eyes dimmed. Amanda never came. She texted me at 9 p.m., saying, "Just couldn't make it. Send Grandma my love." I didn't show Grandma the message. I lied and said Amanda had car trouble. Grandma smiled and said, "That girl's always running late." Still, every time Amanda did show up, she was the center of attention. Grandma would light up, show off her scrapbooks, gush about her brilliant job in PR, and insist she'd take leftovers home for the flight. Me? I was just the shadow in the background, cleaning dishes and refilling iced tea. No one clapped for the person behind the curtain. And the truth was, I didn't need clapping. I just wanted to matter. The night Grandma fell and broke her rib, it was me who carried her into the car. The morning she forgot how to use the stove, it was me who labeled every knob and programmed the microwave. When her blood pressure spiked and I drove her to the ER, I didn't even call Amanda. Why would I? I already knew the answer would be, "Oh no." Keep me posted. When hospice came in during her last 3 weeks, I barely slept. I read to her. I held her hand through the night. I washed her hair. I whispered stories to her like prayers. On the final day, it was just me in the room. Amanda had posted a photo from New York the night before. "Late night meetings," the caption read. Grandma squeezed my hand once before she went. Just once. I buried her in her favorite lavender dress, the one I'd altered for her 2 summers ago when her arms thinned and nothing fit quite right anymore. At the wake, Amanda showed up in Chanel. She kissed my cheek like we were close and made a speech about cherished memories, while barely holding back yawns. After the funeral, she pulled me aside and said, "I've booked the lawyer for the will reading. It's just a formality. Grandma told me she wanted everything to be easy." I thought nothing of it. I had no suspicion, no doubt. After all, Grandma and I had talked about everything. She even joked, "The house will be yours one day, though you've basically earned it already." She said it with a laugh. But I held on to those words like a promise. So when I heard Amanda had the house, when I was handed a check for $500, like I was a stranger, I couldn't process it. It didn't make sense. Unless Amanda had done something. Unless she had changed the will behind everyone's back, including Grandma's. I remember one night in February, a month before Grandma died, when Amanda visited briefly. I hadn't known she was coming. She said it was a surprise. They sat in the living room for an hour while I prepared tea. I remember Grandma seemed confused that night. She'd just finished a round of antibiotics and was more forgetful than usual. She even asked me, "What's Amanda doing here?" After Amanda left, I found her business card on the kitchen table. It was folded in half. Later that week, Grandma seemed agitated, flipping through her mail over and over. I didn't connect the dots. Not until much later. Not until I saw the date on the will, March 12th, and remembered that was the day I had taken Grandma to her neurologist for a cognitive assessment, which she failed. She hadn't known the date, the season, or the name of the current president. But somehow, she had signed a will? With Amanda? I couldn't prove it, but I could feel it in my bones. Amanda had orchestrated something, manipulated a moment, pressured a confused old woman, painted herself as the dutiful granddaughter, and erased me from the legacy I had poured myself into. And the worst part? No one else seemed to care. To the outside world, Amanda had simply inherited her grandmother's house. To me, she had stolen my past, my home, my sacrifices, and rewritten them in her own name. That was the day something in me died. But something else started to wake up. 3 weeks after the funeral, I got a call from Amanda. "Hey," she said casually, like nothing had happened. "Just wanted to let you know the house is finally cleared out. I had movers come by and pack everything up." I blinked. Everything? Well, yeah. I mean, I kept the antiques, obviously, and most of Grandma's jewelry. But I donated a bunch of your old stuff. I wasn't sure what was yours, honestly. You know how cluttered she got in her last years. My hands trembled, but my voice didn't crack. "Did you take the quilt? The blue one on her bed?" There was a pause. "Yeah, I think that went to Goodwill."
Sorry.
Didn't know it was important. It was the quilt my mother had stitched by hand the summer before she died. Grandma had kept it neatly folded at the foot of her bed for over a decade.
I didn't say anything.
Amanda exhaled like she was bored. "Anyway, I'm heading back to the city next week.
Gonna lease the house out.
Already found a couple from DC willing to pay above market." I stayed quiet. She took my silence as approval.
Great.
"Okay, talk soon." Then she hung up. No apology. No offer to return anything.
No space for me to even ask.
Just nothing. I sat in the living room of my tiny rented apartment and stared at the blank white walls. The one photo I had left of Grandma was beside me, her smiling in the backyard, holding a tray of iced tea I'd made. That day she called me, her heartbeat. And now, her house, her memories, her legacy was being turned into a rental. Amanda hadn't just erased me. She had turned everything sacred into profit.
Still, I didn't fight.
I didn't call the lawyer. I didn't scream on Facebook. I didn't show up at her door demanding justice. I just went quiet, not weak, not broken, just different. My friends started noticing. "You okay?" they'd ask. "You've been distant." I smiled and nodded. "Just tired." They thought I needed a vacation. But what I really needed was distance. From the people who thought silence was the same as submission. From the family who thought goodness made me disposable. From the cousin who thought I'd just disappear. For weeks, I said nothing. Not even when I saw Amanda post on Instagram, standing in front of Grandma's porch with a caption. New beginnings, #blessed, #legacy living. The comments were filled with heart emojis and clapping hands. She always loved you so much, one aunt commented. Margaret would be so proud, another wrote. I didn't correct them. I didn't type what I wanted to. Margaret didn't choose her. Amanda chose Margaret's weakness and made it legal. I just logged out. But inside me, something was changing. Not rage. Not revenge. Just clarity. I had spent years pouring myself out for people who thought love was a transaction. I had given my best years, my sleep, my freedom, to care for a woman who had once saved me, and who, in the end, was used as a pawn. And now, I was done waiting to be invited back in. Done trying to explain my worth. Done hoping someone would recognize. All I gave up. They could keep their edited version of the story. I was going to write a new one. On my own terms. I didn't make an announcement. No angry posts. No poetic farewell. No text to Amanda saying how much she hurt me. I just disappeared. I started by deleting her number. Not blocking, just erasing. I didn't want her to have real estate in my phone. Then I unfollowed her on every platform. I unsubscribed from the family group emails, the ones filled with chain prayers, birthday reminders, and photos of Amanda at fundraisers she probably didn't donate to. I stopped answering calls from distant cousins who only remembered me when someone was in the hospital or needed help planning a baby shower. And just like that, the noise stopped. The first morning, I didn't wake up to a phone full of obligations or questions. I sat at my small kitchen table with coffee and heard silence. Not emptiness. Not loneliness. Freedom. It was almost spiritual, the way peace settled into the spaces they used to take up. I finally went through the storage boxes I had packed from Grandma's garage. There were old recipe cards in her handwriting. A few books with sticky notes she'd left behind. And tucked into one manila folder was a photo I'd never seen before, me and her, baking sugar cookies when I was 10. Flour on our faces. Laughing like idiots. That photo became my altar. I framed it and set it on my desk. I didn't need the house. I didn't need the will. I had the truth, and I had her in a way Amanda never could. The world started to look different. I applied for a job at a nonprofit that helped seniors navigate healthcare. I told them about my years with Grandma, my firsthand experience, and the gaps I'd seen in support systems. They hired me within a week. The pay wasn't amazing, but the purpose was real. The first time I helped a woman fill out her Medicaid paperwork and watched her cry with relief, something inside me clicked. I hadn't lost everything. I'd just been redirected. People started noticing the change. My coworkers called me calm in a crisis. Strangers opened up to me in grocery store lines. A friend I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me out of the blue. I don't know what you've been through, but you seem lighter, happier. Whatever it is, I'm proud of you. There was no revenge. No grand takedown. Just quiet reclamation. Of myself. Of my time. Of my worth. I started writing again, little essays and letters to my mother and grandmother that no one would ever see. And one morning, I wrote something in my journal that became my new compass. I was never disposable. They just never deserved me. It started with a message request on Facebook. At first, I almost ignored it. I didn't recognize the name. Elizabeth Monroe. Her profile picture was of a golden retriever sitting in a garden. But something nudged me to open it. Hi, Anna. You don't know me, but I knew your grandmother. My father lived 3 doors down from her at Green Hill Assisted Living before he passed away last year. I just wanted you to know, she talked about you all the time. She called you her angel. I hope you're okay. Just wanted to say thank you. Even if we never met. You helped more people than you realize. Warmly, Elizabeth. I stared at the message for minutes. Not crying. Not shaking. Just still. Angel. That was what Grandma used to whisper when I brought her medicine, or when I'd sit by her window with iced tea and listen to the same stories for the 10th time. She didn't say that to Amanda. Not once. And now, someone I had never met, someone outside the family web of image and inheritance, had found me and validated everything. I replied, "Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me. I've felt invisible lately. It's healing to be remembered by someone who saw her, too." A few days later, I got a second message, this time from Rachel Andrews, a young woman I barely remembered. She had been one of the night nurses at the rehab center Grandma stayed at during her recovery from surgery. She'd written a long post on Instagram, tagging me. "Some people live quietly, but their love is thunder." I remember a woman who used to bring her grandmother warm towels and sit through her physical therapy just to encourage her. I didn't even know her name back then. But today I found her. Her name is Anna Jameson. She didn't just care. She showed up. I found out recently that she was cut out of the will by someone who didn't deserve to be there in the first place. But real legacy? It's not in paper. It's in presence. If you're reading this, Anna, thank you for reminding me that goodness still exists in this world. The post started to get shared. Slowly at first. Then by people I didn't even know. I didn't comment. I didn't repost it. I just watched in quiet awe. In a matter of days, a wave of strangers had begun reshaping the narrative Amanda thought she had sealed shut with signatures and silence. I got an email from an old teacher of mine, someone I hadn't seen in 15 years. "I knew your mother. I remember how much your grandmother adored you. I'm sorry you went through that. But I'm not surprised to see your strength rise like this." And that was when it hit me. I hadn't needed them to see me. I just needed someone outside the lie to remind me it wasn't real. Amanda had changed a will, but she couldn't change history. And she couldn't erase the witness of those who had watched love in action, up close, without cameras, without curated filters, without inheritance. They remembered. And they saw me now, not as someone forgotten, but as someone found. It took less than a week for Amanda to reach out. She called first. I didn't answer. Then came the text. "Hey, just saw some stuff floating around online. Crazy how things spread. Huh? Can we talk?" I didn't reply. The next day, a longer message arrived. "I just want to clear the air. Things got a little messy with the will. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was just trying to make things simpler for everyone. Let's just reset. Family's family. Family's family. The same family that erased me from every photo after the funeral. The same family that watched Amanda call herself sole caregiver on a GoFundMe and never corrected her." I didn't respond. 3 days later, Aunt Linda emailed me. The first email I'd received from her in over a year. "Sweetheart, I think this has all gotten out of hand. Amanda is devastated. This is not how your grandmother would have wanted things. Can you please ask that girl to take down her post? This kind of thing can ruin reputations. Be the bigger person, honey." There it was. The real reason. Not pain. Not regret. Reputation. Amanda wasn't sorry she had erased me. She was sorry people had noticed. And Aunt Linda? She didn't ask if I was okay. She asked if I could make the truth quieter. I read the email twice. And then, I deleted it. No response. No confrontation. I didn't need them to hear me. They were only listening because they were afraid. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I had spent years being the one who held back tears for the sake of peace. Who walked on eggshells because that's just how family is. Who was told not to air dirty laundry. But I had learned something no one had taught me growing up. Silence is not always noble. Sometimes it's permission. And I was done giving it. A few days later, Amanda sent a final message, one last grasp. "Look, maybe we both made mistakes. Let's just meet and talk, okay? I think we owe that to Grandma." No, Amanda. You owed Grandma something when she was alive. I was the only one who gave it. It was a rainy Tuesday. I had just finished helping a sweet older man at the senior center get signed up for his vision benefits. As I was locking up my office, the front desk manager called out, "Hey, Anna, someone dropped this off for you." She handed me a small padded envelope. No return address. I opened it slowly, half expecting a product sample or a random gift card from a client. Inside was a letter, handwritten, and a necklace, a delicate gold chain with a small rose charm. The letter began, Dear Anna, I hope this finds you well. My name is Emma Walsh. You don't know me, but I've known about you for a long time. My grandmother was Evelyn Monroe. She lived at Greenhill and was close friends with your Grandma Ruth. She used to talk about you constantly. How you visited every weekend. How you brought her favorite strawberry candies. How you held her hand when she cried after my grandfather passed. She once told me, Anna Jameson is the kind of granddaughter anyone would be lucky to have. I never forgot that. I paused. The necklace in my hand shimmered faintly under the hallway lights. The rose. Grandma's favorite flower. The letter continued. After Grandma passed, I found a note she had written tucked inside her jewelry box. It said, if anything ever happens to me, give this to Anna. She meant this necklace. She said it reminded her of you, graceful, quiet, but with thorns when needed. I'm sorry it took so long to find you, but I hope this reaches you when you need it most. I stood there, in the middle of an empty hallway, and for the first time in months, I let the tears fall. Not from grief, not from betrayal, from being seen, really seen. Someone had held on to something, not because they had to, but because they remembered. Because I mattered. Because I was not invisible. I wore the necklace the next day. It felt like armor. No, like a medal. Proof that love leaves evidence even when wills get rewritten and people get erased. That evening, I got another message. This time from Rachel, the nurse who had posted about me earlier.
Hey.
Just wanted you to know, 3 people applied to work here this week after reading your story. They said you inspire them. Thought you should know your kindness is spreading. That night, as I lit a candle beside Grandma's photo, I whispered, I hope you see this. Because in that moment I felt her. In the necklace. In the message. In the quiet warmth that filled the room. And I realized something. She didn't need to leave me the house. She had already given me the most important inheritance. Her heart. It happened on a quiet Sunday morning. I was making pancakes and humming to an old Ella Fitzgerald record when the doorbell rang. Unexpected. Uninvited. When I opened the door, Amanda was standing there, hair perfectly curled, sunglasses resting on her head, holding a half-hearted smile like a chipped wine glass. Hey, she said. Can we talk? I looked at her. Not with anger, not even with pain, just with clarity. What is it, Amanda? She exhaled dramatically, like this was harder for her than it was for me. I just think we got off track. I've been doing a lot of thinking.
About us.
About Grandma. About the will. There it was again. The will. Like it was the center of everything. As if all of Grandma's love could be rewritten in ink and initials. Amanda continued. I know I handled things badly, but I want to move forward. You're my cousin. We're blood.
Blood.
As if that word still meant something after what she did. I didn't interrupt. I let her speak. Let her fumble through half apologies wrapped in polished delivery and fake concern. And when she was done, when the silence settled between us, I nodded once. Okay. Her face lit up with hope. Yeah. I stepped forward, gently closing the screen door between us. I forgive you, I said softly, but I don't want you in my life. Her expression faltered. What? You don't mean that. You're just. I do, I said. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. Amanda blinked, stunned. She wasn't used to no coming without drama. No yelling. No slamming. No guilt. Just peace. You can keep the house, I added. Keep the furniture.
Keep the money.
Keep the story you told yourself. But I have what matters, and you can't take it. So, goodbye, Amanda. And I closed the door. Quietly. No final words shouted through the crack. No second look. Just the sound of the latch clicking into place, like a chapter sealing shut. I didn't cry. Didn't second guess. In that moment, I realized something I'd never fully accepted before. Saying no doesn't make you unkind. It makes you free. I used to think being quiet was the same as being kind. That keeping the peace was more important than being seen. That if I just gave enough, forgave enough, loved enough, eventually someone would look back and say, she mattered. But I learned the hard way that silence doesn't always protect you. Sometimes it erases you. And the people who benefit from your silence, they'll never ask you to speak until they need your voice to clean up their mess. I spent years giving people the benefit of the doubt, excusing their cruelty with their family. Even when they left me behind. Even when they rewrote the truth in a will. Even when they invited each other to dinner and told me it was just a small thing. I thought maybe if I just stayed good enough, patient enough, one day, they'd turn around. But here's what no one tells you. Sometimes the people you wait for, they're not lost. They're just not looking for you. And that doesn't mean you weren't worthy of love. It just means they weren't capable of giving it. To anyone watching this who has felt erased, discarded, betrayed by the people you thought would stand by you, this is for you. You don't have to fight to be seen. You don't have to shrink to be accepted. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep anyone warm. Your worth isn't measured by what you give away, but by what you choose to keep for yourself. And sometimes, not showing up is the loudest way to say, I am done being ignored. So if you're standing at that door like I did, hand on the handle, heart full of questions, let me say what no one said to me. You are not unkind for choosing peace over performance. You are not selfish for walking away from people who only notice when you're gone. You are not wrong for outgrowing a version of love that required your silence. You're just real. And real doesn't beg to be understood. Real doesn't grovel for crumbs. Real walks away, not to punish, but to finally breathe. So go ahead.
Close the door.
Light the candle. Wear the necklace. Build your life in the quiet, where truth echoes louder than applause. Because you are not a footnote in someone else's story. You are the author of your own. And that changes everything.